The Queen of the United Kingdom will always make waves internationally. You can't argue with that.
There's no evidence that our monarch makes any difference in terms of our diplomacy or trade. And the last time that we had royals going overseas, with Edward and William going to the Caribbean, they put their foot in it time and time again, and they caused a huge row. The royals do not make any difference our trade and to our diplomacy. We are a very successful country. We're prosperous even when we're going through difficult times at the moment. And that is because of the endeavours of ordinary British people up and down the country, not because of the occasional visit by a monarch to the United States.
But is the Queen and is the monarchy, Graham, not part of the UK's branding upon which you cannot place a price?
We are going to be absolutely fine without the monarchy. We do not need this one privileged, cosseted family living in these large houses in order to be a successful country which people sit up and take notice of.
It's part of our identity, isn't it? We've got the Beatles, we've got Shakespeare, we've got Charles Dickens, and we've got Her Majesty the Queen, Winston Churchill, Sir Elton John.
The Jubilee, you're talking about how
Ainsley Harriott
was 54%.
I'm struggling.
We're not interested. Only 11%. We're very interested. Only 14% were taking part. The support for the monarchy is dropping. It just isn't a fundamental part of our identity, and we can do without it. You're saying let's just keep these people going in this multi-million pound institution where they can do whatever they want. Charles interferes in politics behind closed doors. They spend huge amounts of public money, our money, on themselves every week. And what do we get for that when we could have an accountable democratic head of state and still be a brilliant country?
Naheed, the Queen is famously frugal. She keeps her cornflakes in Tupperware, and she's got a ring heater next to her in the morning when she eats her cornflakes and listens to her Roberts radio. She also agreed to pay income tax 2 decades ago and has reduced the civil list so that there are just a few key members of the royal family that actually receive an income.
Yeah, I completely agree. And she's moved on with times. She's seen the times of people suffering. And, a significant moment was last year when Prince Philip passed away. And that isolated figure sitting there on her own signified, I'm with you, with the rest of the nation. And that's a really, really, major point of her grieving on her own, because she knew the nation were grieving on their own. They couldn't attend funerals, and she was empathizing. And no amount of other head of state, elected state, would give you that empathy, that feeling with what the rest of the state is feeling. Only a monarch, and a monarch like our Queen, can give us that.
The King or the Queen of the United Kingdom?
That is clearly untrue. I'm sorry. You just have a look at other heads of state. It is clearly untrue to suggest that someone has to be unaccountable and given the title of royalty to show empathy. I mean, that is just clearly not the case.
Graham, can I ask for your suggestions of possible presidents of the United Kingdom? Who would the runners and riders be?
Well, it would be whoever comes forward when we have the election. We're not going to have that anytime, in the next year or 5 years. But, the flip side of your argument is to suggest that in a country of 65 million people, the best person we can possibly find is Charles. And it just so happens by sheer fluke and good fortune that he is born into the job that he's going to get. I mean, that is not true. Clearly, if Ireland can choose someone out of a population of 5 million, we're going to be spoiled for choice of a population of 65 million. And if you say that's not the case, then either you're saying that we have no talent in this country, or you're saying that we're too stupid to find that talent and elect them. So, when people go on about patriotism and monarchy, I think it's far more patriotic to trust the people and to say that we are a great nation that will be spoiled for choice than to turn around and say that we can't possibly do it.
Briefly, Michael, the clock is against us. Your final thoughts on this?
The Crown is in very, very good hands. Republicanism is a busted flush because of one big word, glamour. And when you have Prince William, and we saw him today with his beautiful wife and his 3 lovely children, they have glamour. Nobody ever talks about this, but they do. I don't believe that the President of Iceland has glamour. The President of Ireland writes beautiful verse in Erse, but I can't read Erse, and I'm sure he's a commendable person. But this monarchy suits the British temperament. It always has, and it always will.